A Senate inquiry into coal seam gas has spent much of the week canvassing the view of Queenslanders. There's no set date for the senators to hand down their report. The inquiry sat in Roma, Dolby and Brisbane, and Landline's Pip Courtney was at the hearings. I spoke to her earlier. The first day in Roma gave beef producers their chance to have their say. What sort of things did they want to draw attention to?
I think the overriding theme that came out at the end of the day in Roma was balance. Farmers feel that when it comes to them versus the coal seam gas companies, the power resides with the gas companies. The councils feel that the gas companies have the power, and farmers feel when you take the environment into account that the gas companies have the power there.
I don't think there's enough protection for the landholder. And so, yeah, the option is, do we sell and go? Except I don't know that anyone would really want to buy our place at the moment. It's not as saleable as what it was prior to coal seam gas, I don't think.
How has the arrival of the coal seam gas industry changed things for people in Roma?
The committee heard some really compelling evidence from local farmer Kate Scott. She's married to a fifth-generation beef producer, her husband John, and they spoke about how this keeps them up at night. They don't have gas yet, it's coming. Within 3 years they'll have 15 wells on their property that will have above-ground power lines, underground pipes and a road connecting each well, and people from the gas companies visiting every day. They can't get a guarantee that that's the end of the development on their property, but it's keeping them up at night, and they say that they used to be very hopeful about their future in agriculture before the gas.
I now leave a dog off the chain at night if I am home alone, knowing he will bark and warn me if there's an unannounced visitor. Never has this been a worry of mine before.
A hot-button issue at the moment in Australia generally is the rising cost of living. Was the effect of the coal seam gas industry on food prices discussed?
In Roma, the inquiry heard from David Foote, who's the boss of one of the biggest beef companies in Australia. They provide 65% of the beef to coal supermarkets on the eastern seaboard, and that beef business is based around Roma, and gas companies have rights to put wells on this beef company's property. And David Foote said the cost of beef is likely to go up as the CSG industry spreads across the landscape. He said farmers are going to have to absorb the cost of having gas on their land.
It's certainly likely to add costs through the fact that you can't continue to be as productive on the lands that you've chose to be productive on. So we will need more land to run the same amount of cattle to produce exactly the same output. So there's an efficiency in there. With that loss of efficiency will naturally come a cost.
And in Dolby, we've heard that the growth of CSG is creating a lot more work for lawyers.
That was quite interesting. One of the people who gave evidence was a local Dolby lawyer called Peter Shannon, and he now only does CSG work. He's hired 2 full-time lawyers to help him, and he believes that the law needs to be changed to give farmers more consumer protection when they're dealing with these big gas companies.
The companies have a wealth of experience, resources and expertise. I need only point to the fact that Royal Dutch Shell is the 5th largest company in the world. PetroChina has a market capitalisation of some $1 trillion. Those are the companies behind Arrow.
Clearly this issue of balance between mining and farming isn't new and certainly isn't going to be resolved easily or quickly. And we're talking about 20,000 gas wells over southwest Queensland over the next decade. How do farmers describe the government's policies on this issue?
The farmers feel that, and it was used several times, that the horse has bolted, that this industry has got away and the government is trying to regulate and catch up. It's a brand new industry. Where do they look in the world? To America, where the industry is slightly different? They feel that the government hasn't really got a handle on it, and Bill Heffernan, the chairman, over and over again would say how frustrated they are as committee members that they don't seem to be able to even get organisations like the CSIRO to say this will be the impact of X wells across the landscape in X years on, say, the Great Artesian Basin. This will be the impact of the salt. And farmers really feel that the state government is not offering them protection.
Those opposed to coal seam gas got a lot of time and media attention. Was there a feeling that industry representatives got a fair hearing and a chance to put their case as well?
The industry was represented by APIA, and I think people were a little bit uncomfortable about how they were treated, that they weren't necessarily allowed to finish all of their answers, that they got talked over. And I spoke to quite a few people afterwards, and they felt that they got a pretty hard time and not necessarily warranted. They were invited to give a submission. And I think some people were a bit uncomfortable with the tone that was taken with them.
This is just a little indicator of the nightmare that's ahead in trying to make what is a phony, make good proposition to give everyone cover a reality. How the hell?
With respect,
how the hell do you make good a contamination of an aquifer?
I don't think anyone should be wondering, I wonder what this committee's going to do. They're going to be making some recommendations. You could tell that they think that the gas companies, that it's way too much in their favour.
Pip Courtney from Landline, thanks for speaking to me.
Thanks, John.